Welcome to Football Discussion Daily. My name is Joe, and I'm here with co-host
EGO.
CGO or George. Today is the 5th of March, 2026, and we're talking about quite a lot of things. The biggest thing today was the Crystal Palace beating Tottenham 3-1. This game puts Tottenham 1 point above the relegation zone with 9 games left in the season. Tottenham, I feel most people are now Tottenham could be genuine risk at relegation. Still not 100%, but higher than anybody would have ever anticipated. Even 2 months ago, 3 months ago, they appeared quite safe. Of all the teams at the bottom, they're the only team not to win in 2026. George, if you're a Tottenham supporter, how worried should you be about relegation?
If I'm a Tottenham supporter, I'll be very worried because no supporter would like his or her team to be relegated to a lower division. We know how supporters or fans of Leicester City, the way they feel today. Imagine that was a Leicester City team that won the Premier League at some point, and then they later got relegated. Now, the signs have been there that if nothing drastic is taken by the Tottenham board, what it means is that they could possibly be relegated. And it's not funny anymore. You see that today after the halftime, which ended 3-1, more than half of the fans left the stadium. The stadium was almost empty in the second half of the game. So that shows you how unhappy, how disappointed the Tottenham fans are. They are not happy with what is happening. So I won't blame any fan who gets angry and leave because imagine Tottenham has a very horrible home record. Now they've lost about 9 games in the Premier League at home. They even have a better record away than home because they've only won 2 games at home. Away, they've won 5 games away in the Premier League, and then you've lost 9 at home. So your home should be like more like a fortress for you. So when you keep losing like that, it gets the fans very worried and very unhappy.
I
So
think, George, what the fans are really angry about is Tottenham have the highest season ticket price in the league. And that's a factor of being in London. Of course, London is the most expensive city in the UK, but also it's a factor of being a new stadium. And typically, when you have higher prices, you price out fans that care about the game. Because fans who are going to stand up, going to make your stadium that fortress, are fans that are, again, aren't you typically aren't paying crazy prices for games. You've seen other stadiums across the UK where Old Trafford is a famous example where their owners have tried to get the most money out of tickets and have priced out poor fans. Liverpool is another big team that have said, you know what, less than 10% of our revenue come from ticket sales. A big part of our brand is to have this atmosphere of Anfield, and so we are going to keep our season ticket prices relatively low compared to our success. And I think they make a lot of money off like hospitality. They have like one section where I'm a tourist, I can go here and spend a couple $100. But for the most part, Anfield is relatively affordable compared to certainly compared to Spurs. England, of course, there's levels to this. It's nothing compared to Germany, where every ticket is affordable everywhere. I'd love to see a world where that's true, but I just am not. But Tottenham, again, their stadium tickets are expensive, and that's a direct factor into why it's not a fortress and the anger of their fans. It's kind of like a triple edged sword right now with just how that's worked out. So, just one more take. George, who do you blame most for the situation Tottenham's in? Is it the ownership? Is it either the previous two managers or the current manager? Do you blame the players? Is this bad luck with an injury situation? For any huge club to come down here, I feel like it's years of bad decisions, bad luck, bad everything. But do you feel like there's any one particular blame or situation?
well, if you look at the reactions of most coaches that have come to Tottenham and have left the club in the last decade, you will notice that most managers have nothing good to say about the board of Tottenham, especially when it comes to the player. We remember the way Jose Mourinho talked about Tottenham, the comment he made about the board the players, the indiscipline in the team. We are all aware of what Anthony Conte, who we all know when it comes to the league, he normally does well. He had problems with most of the Tottenham players, especially when it comes to their attitude towards training and stuff like that. Most times, he gets support from the board. So it's more like players are more powerful even than the coaches that comes to Tottenham. And then you also look at the likes of Nuno Espirito, who is currently the coach of West Ham. He got there, he had a problem. So we've had a lot of coaches coming to even Ange Postecoglou, even recently spoke about Tottenham, and the way he spoke about them, this problem is coming from the board because there's a way the board will make some policies about the club that players will sit on their toes. But the way it seems the atmosphere gives players so much power. We all saw the reaction of Pedro Porro today when he was pulled out. The way he reacted, we saw the way Mickey Van der Veer, the way he did when they played against Arsenal. The coach was giving him instruction, and he refused to follow the instruction. We even did Thomas Frank had the same problem with them.
Yeah.
So when you look at all these things, I think the problem is from the board because if the
Yeah.
board put things right, the players will have no choice than to comply. So
It's
for me,
interesting.
the board is who that blame the board.
I largely agree. I also think that one thing you're mentioning about player power, they actually had a player there who was one of the best players in England history, Harry Kane, for 10, 12 years, who didn't have any problem with any of these coaches. I felt like very much set the tone. And if you're a player and you have a player who's clearly better than you, Harry Kane, who's acting perfectly, that's incentive for you to act perfectly if the guy who's much better than you, the captain of the team, is acting perfectly. And when that player leaves, I mean, I feel like Kane papered over a lot of cracks of that club just because A, he's so good, B, he has zero attitude issues, zero ego, and that set helped paper over some bad culture for a very long time. So I feel like all these were rippling under the surface. Kane helped paper over for many years, and then all of a sudden, Kane's gone 2.5 years. The club has fallen very, very hard. I always thought that the club was going to, more or less an Everton, Aston Villa level club who historically who hit Europe every couple of years, but also maybe flirted with relegation every couple of years, just like Everton and Aston Villa. But largely, maybe slightly below mid-table. And I never thought Tottenham would fall this hard this fast, but it is crazy. I feel like the last 2 or 3 years they've had a similar transfer strategy to Chelsea where they refuse to sign players over 23, 24. Paulinho is actually an exception. I actually think he's a good player. But they sign a lot of young talent who I don't think is necessarily developed or ready yet. A lot of the talent they have signed as older has gotten injured. Madison, I think, is a very quality player. Paulinho, I think, would be good in the right situation. Spurs is a hard situation to be in right now. But they've missed on a lot of young talent. Xavi Simons looks bad. I think Mickey Van de Ven has a good YouTube highlight compilation, but I feel like if you watch him play, there's attitude issues and there's tactical issues, there's mental issues. I feel like today he made another very clear mistake with his mistake on that red card. As a defender, you think, why not just let him score and play the rest of the game? And play the rest of the game. But instead, you give up a penalty, you give up a red card, and the team was probably going to lose anyway. But you lose the game. Do you think, George? Do you agree on the red card? Do you feel like it was a objective mistake from Mickey Van de Ven?
For me, I think the way things are going in Tottenham is like maybe we have to start questioning some of the actions of this player. Because remember Christian Romero, what he did when Tottenham played against Manchester United at Old Trafford. He committed a kind of a foul that I'm sure he knew what the implication of that foul would be, that it would result to a red card. And that, at the end of the day, worked against his team and they lost that game. Mickey Van der Vet, the funny thing is that Romero is the captain of the team. Today, we had Mickey Van der Vet, who is the captain of the team in this game, committing similar blunder, knowing fully well. To me, he let the team down. And it's like trying to sabotage your team because there are rumors that some of these players are thinking of leaving the club. But even if you want to leave a club, you should leave on a high. If if you are somebody
George,
who is reasonable.
how many of these players would be desired by? I'm going to put clubs in top tiers, top tier teams. Who there's probably 5 or 6 of them who totally see themselves winning a title next year. How many of these players would fit into teams that are comfortably mid-table? And if you're a newly promoted team, there's a class of player that you kind of go after being newly promoted. So George, how many of these players would be desired if Tottenham were to go down by your Liverpools of the world? Is there a single player that like Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal obviously can't for rivalry reasons, or Manchester United? Is there a single player on this Tottenham team that those teams would take even on a free, with high wages? Like I'm looking around this Tottenham team, I don't see a single player. What do you think?
The issue is
Maybe,
that
maybe James Madison if he's healthy. But
yes,
he
yes,
hasn't played in a year and a half. Who knows how
yes.
good he is or how well he's able to recover. I think he's always been a player that could come off the bench for Liverpool, Man City, and at his age, I think that might be the right move for him. I
Then
think
I
he'll.
think Kulusevski too is a very good player, but he has also been injured. I think those are the two players I can single out of the Tottenham team currently. And maybe
What about another tier of teams? So like what about like an Everton or a Brighton? Do you think like a team that's probably going to be mid-table next year? Is there anybody on Tottenham that you feel like, cuz I feel like those teams could go after a Paulinho. I feel
oh,
like
of
he's a
course, yes,
good
yes, yes.
veteran depth
Yeah.
for any team mid-table, a lot of experience, good player. I think would shine in another environment. There might be some other talent. Kulusevski, I agree. I don't think Kulusevski is like Liverpool, Man City quality. I think I could see him going to Everton or Brighton or Aston Villa or something.
No,
But
if he goes to any of those top clubs, it will just be a backup player. Just
yeah,
even Paulinho can be a backup player in a top club, but it can't be a starter there. That's the point.
Kulusevski is 6 or 7 years younger than Polina, and being a backup at 24, you don't go to a club at 24 to be a backup player. And at 30, 31, which Paulinho is, you can do that for 4 or 5. You can say I'm going to be a backup at a top club for 4 or 5 years. But George, any other players that you're looking at this team and you're like, I think Vicario is awful. I think
Yes.
that Romero and Van de Ven, I think there's talent there. They just think they're a lot better than they are, and it's hindering their development. Xavi Simmons looks awful. Kolo Muane, I could see being picked up as well.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
Richarlison obviously
He's a
was
good
very
player.
successful at Everton and could I think could still perform at that
But
level.
but do you think Richarlison can be a starter in any of the top 5 or top 6 club in? I don't think so. He's
Is
going
he
to end
even
up
a
a backup player.
starter at Everton? Solanke maybe as well, but I think that I don't think he'd go back to a top club. He was very young. He did not succeed at Liverpool. But he could absolutely go back to Bournemouth, Everton, Aston Villa, some Leeds, whatever. He could.
A team that has played 11 Premier League games this year without a single win. That's a big disaster. So
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned, and they, if you look at their home record, I think they have one of the worst record apart from Burnley. I think Burnley has lost 10 home games. Then Tottenham has lost 9. So they are next to Burnley, a team that is battling with relegation. So if you look at the statistics of what Tottenham has done this season, it's even worse than even almost worse than last season. So
Yep.
people were saying, oh, they didn't do well last season, but this season seems worse than what we saw last season, if you ask me.
Yeah, yeah. And last season, I mean, did get 7. Georgia, I heard saw a comment today. I thought it was really funny. They're actually improved from last year because last year they were 17th and now they're 16th. But last year they were always 8, 10 points clear of relegation this entire run
Yes,
in. The last year's relegation teams were much worse than any team in the Premier League this year.
yes,
And
yes.
so Tottenham's, also is getting unlucky. They're bad this year in a year where all 3 or 4 teams battling for relegation are going to pick up points, get wins, and Tottenham are not doing that and haven't done that for months. I think one person who's coming out of this looking great is Thomas Frank. I think 2 months ago, his reputation when he got sacked, his reputation was low, and I could be wrong, George. Maybe this is my Brentford bias coming out, but I feel like I don't think he's happy that Tottenham are failing, but as they continue not to do well under other management and even arguably do worse, I feel like it makes him a more attractive candidate for a team like. I mean, after seeing him Crystal Palace rumors, things like that, I feel like that could be a good fit. What do you think, George?
No, no, Joe, with the way things is going at Tottenham, I don't know if I would say the coach is the problem anymore. Because you can't tell me Jose Mourinho came to the club, had issues. We had Tony Conte coming to the club. Espirito Nuno was there. He had problems. We have Ange Postecoglou. These guys are guys who have gone to other clubs and they succeeded there. Now,
Yeah,
coming to your club, and then there's a kind of a trend of coaches not succeeding. That means it's beyond the coach. There's something fundamentally wrong with the foundation of the club, and they need to fix it. And the onus lies on the board to make sure things are done properly. If not, the way they are going, if they don't act very fast, they might end up going to the lower division, and that will be a very big disaster for them.
yeah. I don't know what there is to act down to this point. Like I don't feel like there's anything that could happen in 2 months to turn this down around. It's down to luck. Um, and Tottenham are, and I mean, it's somewhat down to luck in terms of bounces in games, but Tottenham look as bad, much worse than even Wolves. They look like the worst team in the league right now. It'll certainly be interesting. George,
So,
do you have
so
anything
Joe,
before I close out? Anything you want to?
so Joe, if I may ask you, when you say there's nothing more, don't you think if there's a kind of a meeting between maybe the coaches and maybe some member of the board with the players, that could really maybe create a kind of a change?
I don't think Thomas Frank or Ange Postecoglou are two people who are going to leave clubs without every single meeting like that possibly happening. I don't think they've been like, "Oh my gosh, maybe we should meet." Like no, they've been actively communicating with players. They've been blowing smoke up these players' butts, like, "Oh, like you're the best player ever," like to even like your mediocre players, because that's a manager's job to do that. And I still feel like these players aren't listening and could probably use a kick in the butt, which I feel like maybe relegation and negotiations with clubs might improve some of these players. Again, there's some young talent there that, like a Bergval, who's just, I feel like, again, is a very young player who's shown a lot of promise. Archie Gray, not ready for a top club, not ready even to be a starter maybe for 90 minutes every week. I feel like 3 years from now, those players could both better develop at a Brighton, at a Brentford, at a and I feel like those players might want to reset this summer, might be better for them.
Agree
But
with
we'll
you.
see. George, anything else before we close out?
I think there's news that the FA has charged Pedro Neto for his behavior when he got a red card against in Chelsea's loss to Arsenal. Remember when he was given the red card, he was busy arguing with the referee, and then the FA has charged him for that. So
Yeah.
we look forward to see what happens. So his ban might even be more than one match ban. So we never know what happens. He has
My
to respond to the FA on that.
My reading on this is that it's a time wasting, not more than it is anything, and that there's protocols for how long you can stay on the pitch after getting a red card, and it's objective, and it's like I think it's like 30 seconds or 45 seconds. If you're not off the pitch, this is automatic, and this is unappealable, and I feel like it's good for the game. We were talking about how do you enforce time wasting, and this is how, and I want to see more rules like this that the FA can implement. Like if you spend more than 30 seconds before you throw the ball in, it's a yellow card, or it's a warning then a yellow card. I'm not suggesting that's a great rule. I think there's avenues to crack down that I'm glad this is a crackdown on. All right, George, let me close out with the final questions. Number one, who is most responsible for Tottenham's current situation? Is it Thomas Frank? Is it Daniel Levy? Is it the board? Is it the players? Or is it some combination of them all? I'd love to know your thoughts. Number two, how at risk is Tottenham genuinely? Are they the favorites to go down? George, I'm changing my mind. I think they're the favorites after today. But it's just fascinating to see just the last 2 or 3 years of how they've come down. And number three, what do you think of this time wasting enforcement by the FA on Pedro Neto? Is there other areas where the game can improve? We'd love to know your thoughts. Thank you. Thank you for listening.